Welcome to our session today. Sorry we're starting a little bit late. Um, my name's Daniel Turner, and I'm here today to walk you through using Quirkos for the first time. Now, if you've not used Quirkos before, it's designed to be a simple, easy to use qualitative data analysis software. You can download it from our website. You can use the free trial for 14 days for the cloud subscription, or 21 days for the offline version. Both are identical, so what you choose is up to which option you like. So the cloud, so this one which has a sign-in, you need to create an account, you need to provide credit card data, but this means that the projects are stored on our cloud servers for your country, and then you can collaborate, and any device where you log in, you can have access to all of your data. The other option is the offline storage version, the local storage version, and that doesn't require any registration, and that's on a permanent license basis if you choose to purchase after the trial. And the only difference with that is that it stores the projects directly on your computer rather than sharing them on the cloud. Obviously, the advantage with that is that you can keep your data more secure if you like, but you're not able to do live collaboration, although you can still send projects to people and merge if you need to do that. So it doesn't really matter which option you choose, and Windows, Mac and Linux are all the same. So the tutorial we're going to do is applicable for all of those today. So I'm just going to click here on the continue with local storage option. No, actually I'm going to sign into my cloud. So if I can remember my password, great. So if you've not created an account to sign in, there's a link there to do that. And when you sign up, you just need to provide your email address and a password and credit debit card information. Although you won't be billed until after the trial unless you cancel before then. So what we're going to do here is go through the process of starting a new project, creating codes, importing sources, and then some of the analysis features in Quirkos. And the first thing I'm going to do is show you what this looks like after you've logged in. And the view is actually the same when you're working offline as well. You'll see at the top here we've got this list of projects that we've been working on, and also at the bottom for the cloud version we've got projects shared with me. So people have shared me these projects, and we're still looking at these. So I can just double click on any of these projects to open them. These are just some examples that we've been working on. And if I click on the new project button here, I can create a new project, and that's what we're going to do today. So you need to create a project first before you can import your sources and data, and the project stores all of that data together. So I'm just clicking on the new project button, and in the cloud I just have to give it a title, that's all. So I'm going to call this webinar example. I've got two options here, so I can password protect the project file, and that adds an extra layer of encryption and means that you need to have the password to open each project, and that's in addition to, if you're on the cloud version, the password that protects your account. The other option here is structured questions, and that's usually used for importing survey data from an Excel spreadsheet or CSV file or something like SurveyMonkey, and that means you're asking exactly identical questions to each of your respondents, and you're looking for the kind of open-ended answers to explore there. So I'm just going to call this webinar example here. Click on new project again. It says creating project, and there we've got a brand new project to work on here. Now today I'm actually using Quirkos in the light view, but if you click on settings, there are lots of options here which change the layout. So I'll choose general project preferences. I can put on the light mode, I can change it back to the dark mode, I can change the size of the text, and so it's a little bit easier for you viewing at home. I'm going to make that a bit bigger there. You also change the width of the highlights and memo columns, and we'll look at those too. And there's also some options here about how you would like things to be presented in the report. So I'll just click on the save option there. And so this is the basic layout in Quirkos. You'll see it's split kind of into two halves. The right side of the screen here at the moment says no source to display, but this is where we store the text sources. So Quirkos is text only, but it means that you can bring in any source of text data here, and that's what you would do your qualitative analysis on, whatever kind of approach or methodology you're choosing. The left side of the screen is what we call the canvas area. And this is where we create the codes or themes which you use to identify things of interest in your data. So the first thing you'll probably want to do in your project is actually click on Add Source button here. And this gives you a couple of options. The first one is to add a new blank source, or we can insert files which we've got on our computer. We can copy and paste data straight from a clipboard. We can import data from a spreadsheet file. That's the CSV option. There's also an option here to bring in a whole folder of sources at once. So if we've got all our bibliography data in one place, or we've got all our transcripts in one place, we can bring in that whole folder. I'm just going to click here on Select Files, and then I'm going to go and see if I can find some interesting data to look at here. So in the example project folder, and all of these you can download from online, we've got this example here. These are people talking about basically what they eat for breakfast. Got any other examples here? No. Okay. So if we look on the example project here, we can select one or more of these files, and you'll see that these have got different extensions. So we can bring in text files, PDF files, docx files, those are Word files, and also rich text files. So those are the formats which Quirkos supports at the moment. We can bring in any number of those. So I've selected all of them here just by clicking on the Shift button to select all of them. You can also use the Control button in here to, if you just want to select some of them, you can use the Control button to select or deselect individual files. But I'm going to bring in all of these ones here. Click on the Open button here. Good. 5 sources have been successfully imported. So those have been now copied into the project. So if there are any changes made to the original project files, sorry, the source files, or if they're moved at all, then that will need to be updated. But I'm just going to click OK here. And you'll see now we've got one of the sources which is loaded here, and we can scroll down and see it. This is Jane's source, Jane Rich Text Format. And there are 3 tabs along the top of the screen that let us move between the different sources in the project. And these 3 tabs are the most recent 3 sources that we've worked with. But with the button to the left of the tabs here, this is the source browser, and this shows us all of the sources in the project. So you can see we've actually got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different sources in here. It also tells us a bit more information about them, who brought them in, D. Turner, that's me, on today's date, this time. And then the percentage coded, so how much we've coded of that one. And there's also an option here to remove that project. Now we can also search in here as well. So if we're just looking, if we start having a very long list of sources, we can just click on Mabel, for example, start typing Mabel, and then we can see Mabel's text. And if we click on that, it will load that source, even if we don't have a tab for it up. So that's Mabel's source down there, and we can start working with the data. Now there's a couple of different ways that we might want to work with the data here. Probably the first thing that most people do is try and describe their sources in some way. So they may have some demographic data if they're working with something like transcripts. They may also, if they're bringing in literature to do a literature review or systematic review, they may also have data such as bibliographic data, so year and age, year and journal and publication date and title and authors and those kind of things. And we can define all of those with this tab here. You see the little grid format here, and this is for what we call the source properties. We call it attributes in some other software. But the attributes, these are basically ways to kind of create virtual folders or categorize or describe your sources actually in any way that you like. So you can create as many properties as you like, so many of these as you need to, and you can use them to refine and do things like comparative qualitative analysis. So I'm going to use this little plus button here, quickly add a new property, click on it. What property do we have here? Let's create one which is called age. This will be a numeric property, obviously, and we'll give Mabel the age of 42. So she's 42 years old. And then we'll just click the OK button. So what we've done here is we've created a new property, and the property is called age, and a value for this person. So this person is 42 years old, and the category is age. So that's a good place to start. But let's create another property here, and we'll call this family role, and this person is a mother. Okay, so in this project we're kind of interested in how people from different parts of the family are contributing. So this could be child, this could be dad, this could be grandparent, could be anything that we're looking at here. So you'll see we've created another property here called family role, and for Mabel's source here, that's the one we're working with, we've got the property mother. Now if we click on Simon here, you'll see that we've got these properties here, age and family role, but there's no values associated. So we didn't say for any of the other sources what these should be. So for age, if we click here on this drop down arrow here, that's how we can assign something to the age. So we've got the option here to put in a new value or use any other existing value that we already have in the project. But Simon's not 42 years old, so we'll choose new value and we'll put in 33. Simon is 33 years old. And his family role, do a drop down, we'll say that he's the father. So in this way you can create any kind of groups, any kind of categories for your data in the project. And this may even be something like data type. So this could be an interview. Oops. So you might have semi-structured interview, you might have focus groups, you may have, this is literature, this is a journal article or something like that. And you can create as many of these as you like. And I'll show you later how you can use these to kind of filter your results and look at results just from particular groups of people. So I'll just click here on the X button, close that project down, there we go. So we've now produced some source properties. We can go back to the text with this little tab here with little lines for the text. So go from the properties to the text. So now we've described those sources, we've imported them into the project, and now we can start working them on them in some ways. So what you do now depends a little bit on what kind of qualitative approach you're taking. If you're doing something like framework analysis, you may create a bunch of codes or themes ahead of time. If you're doing emergent analysis, some kind of grounded theory, you might kind of create them as you go along. You may also be using something like IPA or line-by-line coding or in vivo coding, which has an approach where you're trying to describe, possibly using the participants' own words for using in vivo coding, how they're describing their data. And so to help with that, we've got what we call the memos column here. So pressing on this opens up another column here, which is for the memos. And what we can do is select any piece of text. So let's choose the first sentence. Well, we used to have toast for breakfast a couple of years ago. Diagnosed as being gluten or wheat. No, wheat intolerant. Okay, let's choose that whole sentence there. And we can drag and drop that text onto the memo column. And that adds a memo, or so our own kind of little piece of reflexive writing about that text. So we'll just write here, diagnosed wheat intolerant. So that's something which is useful for us to know. And this is one of the ways that you might choose to kind of go through and analyze the data, doing a line-by-line approach, using a little bit of descriptive reflexive writing to describe what's going on in the text. That's right. So now I just have cereal and maybe some fruit. Okay. So we could say doesn't sound, whoops, doesn't sound like they eat much bread now. Okay. So you can keep going through and you can use this for your own comments and your own reflections, or you can use it for a line-by-line approach. And when you click on the memo, it selects that piece of text. So what you may do later on is when you've gone through and analysed all of the data in this kind of line-by-line approach with your own kind of interpretation, your own reflexive comments, or using the participants' own words, you may go through and then start to create codes or later on themes. And so how you might do that is you would select one of these texts, so wheat intolerance, and then you can select this text, so drag and drop the piece of text onto this plus button here, and that will create a new code, a new theme for the project. So I'm going to call this one dietary issues, because it may be that we actually want to keep a kind of wider description than just kind of wheat intolerance, gluten intolerance we're looking at here. So there's space here for a longer description to put in here, so we can talk a little bit more about what we mean by that. So it could be includes wheat intolerance preference. Sorry, my typing is terrible. Might also be some other allergies, but not food preferences. So not if they just don't like something. There's also an option here to change the colour. We've just got some random colours here, and we can also choose any colour we like in here. That greeny kind of colour, and we'll just click on the save button there. So now you'll see we've got, it's just flashing here because we just created it, a dietary issues bubble. And that's actually got this piece of text here already coded to it. So to the left of the text, there's this little column here, and this is what we call the highlight column. And in here, there's little strips, coding strips, and they show you what pieces of text this has been assigned to. Now, we can also create another theme at any time just by clicking on the plus button. So we'll create another one here, and we'll call it toast. Actually, we should probably have a brown colour for toast. Okay, fine. And this piece of text, we could say, okay, this is about wheat intolerance, but the person is also talking about toast. That might be quite important. So we'll drag and drop the text and put it here onto the toast bubble. And now you can see we've got two stripes here. If we hover the mouse over it, it shows us what those codes are. One for toast and one for dietary issues. So one piece of text can be assigned to as many themes as we like. Now, it may be that we just want to assign text to just one theme at a time. That's fine. But we've got the option here to use lots of themes here if we want to. And if at any time we want to change our mind about what we've coding, we just need to right click on that coding stripe there, choose remove highlight, and there it's back again. So that allows us to undo any of the coding that we've done there. Now, I should also mention that there's a full undo and redo facility in Quirkos. So if we change our mind about anything, we can just click the undo button, and then that piece of text has been coded back to toast as well. So we've got this piece of text here which has been coded about toast and dietary issues. And then this person's also talking about bread, how they didn't like the gluten-free bread. That's kind of about, that's probably a new theme. So we'll create a new theme here, dragging the text onto there. We'll call this one bread. And so we've added this text to be about bread as well. And we'll add it to another theme as well. We'll say that this is a negative comment. So this is something that they didn't like. We should probably make that red. Okay. So here we've got our four bubbles here, which represent these codes. And we've got just a little bit of text assigned to each of them. Toast, dietary issues, bread, and negative things. And we can actually drag and drop and move these bubbles around like this. And we can also create subcategories here. So it may be that we decide that toast is actually really a subcategory of bread. So I'll drag and drop that onto the bread bubble there, and you'll see that's been added there. But what we can also do is pull this out at any stage. So we've created toast as a subcategory of bread, but we might decide that it doesn't belong there. So we could put that on bread, on toast, and then we could add something else. So we could add in here, I don't know, bagels. We've got a new bagels code there, and we could have another one here, which is for morning rolls. In Scotland, that would be a popular choice. And then we'll drag and drop those on here as well. So now we've got morning rolls, toast, and bagels as subcategories. And we can select any piece of text and drag and drop it onto one of these subcategories. So maybe we'll put something else on toast. Ooh. And now what's started to happen is the bubbles in Quirkos, the size of them is representative of how many pieces of text are coded under it. So it gives you a kind of idea about what themes are popping out. And at the moment there's twice as many things coded about toast as anything else. So there's twice as many things under the toast theme. What we might want to do though, at this stage we may probably just go through and kind of read more of the data, keep creating codes, keep creating themes, grouping them, renaming them, rethinking them, but then also trying to kind of look at the connections between them. But another thing we can do is actually do a quick text search. So if we click on this little icon here, the magnifying glass, the search icon, we can enter a term like toast, oops, not toad, and we can see every instance where somebody said toast in the project. So here's one here. These little dot 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 buttons load more of the source. We have toast or cereal. So I can drag and drop that. Oops, missed. We can drag and drop that onto the toast bubble. I always have toast, mostly with margarine and jam, so I'll put that one on as well. So we can go through and we can code everything where people said toast. What if they didn't use toast and they used another word? Well, there's a synonyms database built into Quirkos, and that gives you some kind of idea of the different things that you could say. So, for example, these aren't very useful here, but obviously there's different meanings to the word toast. So crisp, crispen, drink, to toast to someone. A goner, that person is a goner. So pledged, it's also just toast, salute, wassail. So maybe we want crisp or crispen, and you can choose which of these synonyms you want to also search for and include those in the search as well. I don't think we have anything for crisp. We were talking about crisps, we might do, but not in this project anyway. So the text search can help you kind of find little things in the project there as well. When we're done with that, we want to close it. We'll just click on that little cross button there and close down the panel. So now I'm going to click on and show you another way that we can look at the different text which is available in the project. That's with the word cloud. So I'll click on the export button here and then create word cloud. And what that does is it counts how many times each word is used in all the sources, or if you want to refine it in some way in just some of the sources in the project. So these are all the sources here, and we could remove, so if we just wanted to look at one person's or just a certain number of people's sources, we can do it like that. And then the word cloud here shows us basically with the relative size, so usually, like, so, and we can remove any of these words with the stop list. So by default there's a list here of the 150 most commonly used words in English speech, spoken language, and we can add things like so we don't need to see that there. Like, usually, cereal, that's fine now. It's we can get rid of remove that one as well. And there's also different ways that we can change the size and which words are displayed, so maybe we only want the top ones. And down the bottom you'll also see a list of all the number of occurrences of each word. So I appears 65 times, usually, sometimes. This is not very insightful in this particular project. Maybe things like, yes, toast comes up a lot, fruit comes up a lot. Maybe this is useful in your project to kind of give a brief kind of overview. Well, this kind of linguistic analysis is not really kind of qualitative analysis, because it is residing on quantitative counts of the words that people use in the project. We don't always want to rely on those. But anyway, that's for word frequency analysis. What you'll probably do at this stage, though, is go through, create more codes, do more coding, go through, and this is the stage which takes quite a long time. You may also try different analysis approaches, so you may choose do a bit of discourse analysis, content analysis, thematic analysis. You may do open and axial coding, which has different stages to it. And what you can do there is actually, if you create groups, you can add quirks to different groups. So we can create a group here called open codes, new group, and we'll create another one called axial codes, new group, and then we can assign any of these. So these are probably all kind of open codes, and then axial codes may be something like barriers to breakfast. That's probably going to be more of a kind of axial code. We don't have anything that kind of belongs in there at this stage, but we might start reassigning some of these to be these more kind of axial codes. So we could keep our open codes kind of more theoretically there, but we may also, so if we right click on them, we can edit them. We can change the name, we can change the color, add a description anytime. We'll add this one to the open codes, and these as well. Just quickly do this. So you can describe them in any way, and a code can belong to more than one theme. So often you'll find that, especially in open axial coding, there are certain themes which are, you know, kind of the basic open codes, but they also belong to those kind of higher level theoretical underpinnings as well. So with the groups, you can then choose which ones to see. So by default, we're looking at all of the codes. Maybe we just want to look at our open codes. Maybe we want to look at the open and axial codes, or just the axial codes. And we may want to just turn that off and see everything. So that's how we can work with the groups if we're doing kind of multiple issues. Now, obviously, with this kind of project, I've not created very many codes. I'm not really at the kind of stage. I've done a very basic kind of descriptive content analysis. There's not very much to play with here. But let's open another project. Which is with the same data, but where we've done a little bit more work on it. If I can find it in here. breakfast project? Probably that one. Is that the one? Let's have a quick look at this one. Yeah, that'll do. Great. So this is actually the same project, but I've basically gone through and coded all the sources. I've got like and dislike. Toast is a popular one as well. I've also looked at the different things people are eating and drinking for breakfast, categorized them like this. I've also got descriptions of family, because I'm kind of interested in the family dynamics around breakfast as well. So people talking about grandparents and children. And what I can do at any stage is I can double click on one of these themes. Let's double click on family. And that will show me all the pieces of text which have been assigned to the family theme. So these are our subcategories under family. We've got children, adults, friends and grandparents. And on the right we've got all of those different sources. Sorry, the extracts, so the quotes and which source they come from. So this is from Sarah's source. Not always the freshest food, a lot of fruit at least. The children love apples. Okay, so that's why that one's come up. So if we click on children, we'll just see the bits of text which is about children. The children love apples and bananas, which is what the children usually have in the morning. I think it's just Sarah actually. If you look here, talking about children. When we talk about adults, yeah. So again, we've just looked at that. Sarah's partner here, so that's another adult here being talked about. And so we can look at just one of the subcategories here, or we can see the quotes here from all of the subcategories and the top level theme as well. You'll also see in this view, I've actually got these numbers turned on here, so I can see how many quotes there are. These are not turned on by default, but you can turn them on at the view option any time. You can also add a little plus button here, so we can create another one. So family members, maybe we want to have babies, maybe they have specific eating requirements. And so we've got the babies code here. And maybe what we want to do is go through the children and rush to get school a lot easier. Okay, there's nothing particularly here about babies, but let's pretend, this one we wanted to also add to babies code. So one of the things that's quite common is you want to go through and you kind of want to rework your codes and themes. And what you can do is you can rename, you can rework these subcategories, create new subcategories, and also merge together subcategories. So you can right click here and you can edit and delete these. So maybe we wanted to move some of the children thing between children and babies. Then we actually wanted to delete the friends category because we didn't have anything in there. We thought it was going to be useful, but it didn't end up being. So it was not necessary. So we can explore the coded text in very easily like this. And the other thing to bear in mind is any time that you've got any of these quotes shown in Quirkos, there's a little tick box next to it. This will allow us to copy that source of text, and then we can copy it with the button here and then paste that into Word or PowerPoint or wherever we're writing up our data. So now I'm going to click on the Home button and go back to the main view. Those are our themes and the bubbles, and here's the text that we've coded. Show you some of the other options that we've got when we right click on one of these themes. So the overview is what we just looked at, so that's what you get when you double click. That shows you all of the text that's been coded to that theme. There's also the overlap view. And what this does is show you how often pieces of text were coded together. So toast occurs most often 5 times, it shows here, with diet. So people talking about toast maybe as a healthy diet option. So we've got these coded extracts here, which are all about toast. We can also see that people probably like toast more often than they dislike it. At least there's 3 of those compared to 2, but you don't want to rely on the numbers. You want to go back and read that. So we've got 3 things here where people are talking about liking toast in some way or form, and we can do that for any of the bubbles here. Again, the home button at any view will take you back to the main view. Other options in the right click. So we've also got merge, so we can merge 2 codes together. That's pretty straightforward. Also duplicate, so if we want to split things apart, we can duplicate everything that's been coded into one of the themes and then maybe rework it, rename some of what's in it. And we can also, of course, delete the themes or quirks as well. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is, if you remember earlier when we created those source properties, how now we've coded some data in the project, we might use that to look through and see exactly what people are going on about and whether there's any kind of differences, comparative differences between the different groups we have. Now in this project we described our sources in terms of gender and age and city. And so what we can do is if we click on the query view here, there's lots of other things we can run a query on, but the properties, the PR one here, is probably the most common one. And so what we could do, for example, is look at where the city is Belfast. We can change that option here, click on the update button, and then we'll see this is what everybody is talking about. All the people who were in Belfast, and the thing they're talking about most is diets. They dislike a lot of things, they eat a lot of toast, We can click on these and see the text. So these are the things which people, it may actually just be Simon in this project, are saying about dieting. So the other thing we can do is we can split the screen in half and run two queries at the same time. So maybe it's useful to do comparative qualitative analysis to see things side by side. So if we click on the city button here, and then we choose Edinburgh here, and then click update, we'll see, okay, right, major finding. People in Edinburgh like toast, talk about toast at least, a lot more than people in Belfast. So maybe this suggests that we have more people in Edinburgh, or maybe it's just that the people in Edinburgh are there's one person who's particularly obsessed with toast. So we want to go through and see, well, Jane and Sarah are both talking about toast, but we also want to see what they're saying about it. Now, this is a very simple example, but it may show you in this kind of, when you start reading back into the data, something that you want to draw out. And Quirkos is designed to kind of always get you back and read the data differently, not to rely on these numbers, not to rely on your coding, but to go back and read the data in comparative different ways and see what you've got. And again, you've always got these options here to select all the quotes and then copy them and paste them into Word or wherever you're writing up. And so if you want to start writing up a section about what people in Edinburgh think about toast, you've got all those quotes there, or you can just select some of them if some of them are not very good. And then you can add them into your, wherever you're writing up your report or thesis or paper or whatever. You've also got the option here to add other criteria to it. So maybe you want to only see what the men in Belfast are saying, or the men in Belfast who are, you've got numeric values, over the age of 18. So just what the adults in your study, in adult males in Belfast are saying. So you can make this as narrow or as wide a search as you want to, and see if there's any kind of differences between your groups. Okay. You can also create reports from one of these. So again, if you wanted a report which just has the results from the men over the age of 18 in Belfast, you can click on the export option here, ask you whether you want the left or the right query, and generate a report from that. And I'll just show you with the main project what those kind of reports and some of those other outputs look like. So again, the home button will take us back to this main view. And now I'm looking at the whole project. I'm going to create a report. So we choose export and then create report, and I'll show you some of the other export options that we have. We kind of take the philosophy that qualitative analysis is always kind of like a middle part of the journey. You need to collect and probably transcribe your data somewhere. You also need to kind of write up somewhere. So we try to make sure we've got as many options as possible for you to get the data out of Quirkos and use it in different ways. So here's our data. And lots of different sections here which we can turn off. So for example, we've got this table here which says sources summary and tells us lots of information about each of the 4 sources that we have in this project. But if we don't need that in there, we can just unclick that and turn it off. You'll see below here we've also got graphs of the sources, so the properties here. We can see that we've actually got 50-50 male, female gender split in this sample, two of each in this tiny project, but that's okay. We've got these views here of the quirks. This shows us our coding framework and how many codes are in different ones. We can customize these views as well. We can turn off and on the numbers again, and we can show them in different ways. We've also got here the text sorted by theme. So here we start to have the quotes. So everything about healthy from Jane, Mubarak, Simon, everything about toast from Sarah and Jane. And we can also customize these in different ways. So we could have, rather than by theme, everything by source. So everything that Sarah, we coded to from Sarah's source, everything from Jane's source, Mubarak's source, in that order. So you can customize the kind of the order and structure of the report a lot. And when you're happy with how it is, you can either save it as a Word file, you can save it as a web page to share with someone else, you can obviously print it out, and you can also save it as a PDF file, and that's another useful way to share with everyone. But another useful output that Quirkos has is the Word export. And what this does is create Word documents, a Word document or separate Word documents for each of the sources that you brought in, but showing your coding in. And it's a standard Word document, so we'll just create a folder here, Word export again. Oops. Okay, not sure why it's not letting me save there. Try and bring this back. So yes, let's just create it there. Okay, right, it popped up. Here are my sources. And here's a standard Word file in LibreOffice, but it's the same word, which shows how we've coded the project using these color-coded highlights. So this is quite a neat, easy way to share the data with someone, take a step back and print out our data and see how we've interpreted it. But the advantage is, of course, you can share it with anyone who can open a Word file. So it's, yeah, very, very useful to go back and share someone like a supervisor and show them how you coded the data at a kind of whole transcript level. There's also the CSV export option. I'm not going to show that today, but that basically will create an Excel table. So you can bring this data, your codes, your stripes, how you've done the source properties, what codes you've created, what the subcategories are, how many things are coded on them. And then you can bring those into Excel. You can create tables from them. And then again, that's useful for different kinds of writing up. Quirkos doesn't have any kind of quantitative analysis tools in it, but it does allow you through that CSV spreadsheet export to bring the data into SPSS or R or something like that, and then work from it in there. There's also the options here to do export as the REFI QDA standard, so Quirkos fully supports this, which means that you can bring your data into another qualitative software package like MaxQDA, Atlas TI, or NVivo, and also import from those as well. So if there's particular tools you want to use in a different software package, or you've started your software package somewhere else and want to try out Quirkos, you can import your data without having to start all over again. You've also got the option here to basically save as with just the sources. So if you wanted to try, scrap all of your coding, your codes, and start again, we'll keep the sources and your source properties, and also just the structure. So if you've created a kind of standard framework that you want to use to, especially for evaluations, use for other projects, you can create this as just the structure of the project. Okay, so that's the main bits of using Quirkos. Those are the main functions and functionality. I hope this has been clear. If you've got any questions, do let me know now in the chat, and I'll go over them for you. Okay, I'm sorry, we've got a problem with the audio here. I've been having a lot of issues with YouTube today, so I'm really sorry if you're unable to hear me. Again, thanks so much for coming along today. Do let us know if we have any questions, and do go down to the website www.quirkos.com and you can give it a try for yourself. Thanks very much.